Creating a storyline info slide with expandable buttons. In this video, we will show you how to create the storyline info slide with expandable buttons. We have used this layout to create an engaging, frequently asked questions page about ebooks, but you can use it for anything, since this functionality is so versatile. Watch this video to learn how to create this slide or download the free template from our website. We start this tutorial with the basic elements like title, content text, and buttons already inserted in the slide. Pay attention that there is a hotspot in the normal state of the buttons, since it ensures that the mouse pointer will always change to hand cursor when the mouse hovers over. Buttons also have a custom visited state. Alright, first things first. Let's create 5 true and false variables for each button. Set the default values to false. Add an action which sets the variables to value false when the timeline starts in the slide. We will return to them later. As you can see in the preview of the finished slide, the button placement changes when other buttons are clicked. The only exception is the first button, which always stays in its position. The key to this effect is creating a second fully functional button set for all the buttons except the first one. We will call it the bottom set. The original button set will be called the top set. To create the bottom set, copy the buttons number 2 and number 5 and paste them in the slide. Align the bottom buttons so that the first bottom button has the same coordinates as the last top button. Remember to name both sets of buttons accordingly so you don't get confused later. We added top or bottom at the end of each object name. Adjust the placement of buttons so that the bottom buttons are located behind the top buttons in the timeline. Insert a solid overlay rectangle in front of the bottom buttons so that they are not visible. Next, we have to create the expanded states for each button. Create a new layer for the first button. Add action which sets the value of the first variable to true when the layer is opened. Copy the first top button from the base layer and paste it in the new layer. Delete the custom visited state of this button. To make it different from the base layer, we change the plus image in the button to a minus image. Add action to this button, which hides the layer when the user clicks on it. Expand the base layer objects in the timeline of the new layer. You need to hide the overlay rectangle so that the bottom set buttons are visible and hide the fifth top button so that it doesn't overlap with other buttons. Finally, insert a solid rectangle with the necessary text in it, which will act as the expanded text area for the button. Create slide layers for other buttons. The principle is almost the same as for the first button, except with these layers you have to hide only one object from the base layer. The overlay rectangle in front of the bottom buttons. However, you can experiment with the option to change the visibility of the base layer objects according to your needs. Return to the base layer view after you have created all layers. We still have to add few actions to this slide. First, add variable triggers, which set the visited state of the respective top and bottom buttons when the variables change to true. Next, add actions for top and bottom buttons, which show their slide layer when the user clicks on the buttons. Finally, your slide is ready. It took some time and it might look confusing at first, but in our experience, this type of functionality comes in handy quite often, so it's useful to understand how it works. Thank you for watching, and don't forget there are other storyline tutorials like this on our YouTube channel.